Today is May 26th, 2010. My name is Jacob Sherman with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. And today we are visiting with Joy Evans in her home in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and we're going to discuss her Ethiopian experiences. This interview is being conducted as part of the Old State Stories Project. First off, I'd like to thank you for allowing me into your home and allowing me this opportunity to interview you. So, thank you.
Quite welcome.
And I just want to, first off, let us begin by having you discuss where you grew up and that type of biographical information.
I grew up in 3 different states. I was born in Arkansas. In my grandmother's home, my grandparents' home, my mother was born in the back bedroom. I was born in the front bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the hottest days of the year, and my mother's Uncle Ott, her mother's brother, had brought in an oil well in Texas, I believe. And Uncle Ott kept, everybody that came got to hear Uncle Ott's story about the oil well, and she was pretty bored with that by the time. I don't know whether that brought on my birth or not, but that was the chain of events.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were, my father was a minister, school teacher, my mother was a school teacher. We moved to Kansas when I was in the 6th grade, and we moved to Oklahoma when I was starting the 10th grade. And we were at Enid, and I graduated from Enid High School and got my bachelor's degree there at Phillips University.
Okay.
Met and married my husband.
Okay. What did your father do? What was his occupation?
He was educated, well, my grandfather, his father, was a Methodist minister. And there were 11 children. My father was the next oldest child, the oldest son of 11 children. And at the end of the 8th grade, he dropped out of school and went to work to help his father support the family. Because at that time, money was so tight that at one point my grandfather had 10 cents in his pocket, and that was all the money that the family of 13 had. When my father was 19, he went back to school, graduated from high school at 21 and went to the university and got his bachelor's degree. Now, he wanted to be a minister, but the Methodist Church at that time did not have enough churches to support all the young ministers that they had. Certainly a different situation now.
Mm-hmm.
So they encouraged young men to find a different occupation. And so he was certified as a school teacher. And I happen to have some of those. I have his testing scores, his papers, among my collection of things. My mother was born in Prescott, Arkansas. Her father was a blacksmith. Mr. King was his partner, and he did the woodworking while my grandfather did the metalwork. But my grandfather was an excellent carpenter, and we have some things that he made.
Oh.
And we have some, and his shop was located right next to his brother's photography shop.
Okay.
So I lived with my grandparents. The winter I was 5 years old, because my father had had a ruptured appendix back before penicillin and sulfite.
Yes.
And he had very nearly died. And my mother had to leave when they finally let him out of the hospital, left him with her parents and left me there. And when he got well enough, he joined her where they were teaching, but there was no child care facility there. And I was a preschooler, and so I spent that winter with my grandparents. And my parents would come see me, and a couple of times my grandmother put me on the bus, complete with a tag pinned on me with my name and destination and my shoebox lunch, and parked me right behind the bus driver. And I went to see my parents.
What did your father teach?
I remember specifically science. He was also a basketball coach, and his boys lost the state championship in basketball, and that would have been the year I was in the 4th grade, which had to be 1940, let's see, 40, in the mid-40s.
Okay.
Well, before the end of World War II.
Okay. Like 43, 44?
Yeah, about in there. And my mother's girls won the state championship.
Oh, really?
And my mother taught 4th grade, and she was girls basketball coach.
And this was up in Kansas?
This was in Arkansas.
Okay.
This was, they were, at that time, they were at Fountain Lake, Arkansas.
What? Where?
Fountain Lake.
Okay,
It's about
that's what I
5
thought
miles outside of Hot Springs.
Okay.
And was a
So
consolidated school district.
Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
How did he come into Oklahoma then?
My father decided to go back to school. We had been living in Atwood, Kansas, and my mother was going to go back to school. He had developed high blood pressure, and she was going to go back to school because at the time she got her education. When it was time for her to go into high school, when it was time for her sister, the one next to her, to go to high school, they still had to pay to go to school. And it was somewhat debatable as to whether or not she would get to go to school if grandfather could afford to pay for her high school education. But he did do that. She was 7 years older than my mother. When my mother graduated from high school, she kept a kindergarten for a year or so to raise money for college tuition, and she went to Henderson State Teachers College. It's now, Henderson is a Baptist university,
Okay.
I believe, in Arkansas.
Okay.
I know that in the biochemistry department, Billy Hudson was one of the professors there, and he got some of his training at Henderson. So, and we also know another person, that Paul Bass, who is affiliated with Henderson.
Okay.
And so I know it's still going. It's an old university in Arkansas. But public education has not always been free.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in another transition period.
Yes. So your father wanted to go back to school? Or
My father and mother both went
Both
back to
went?
school.
And that's how they came into Oklahoma?
My father's health failed,
Okay.
but they continued to live. That was about 1950, and we continued to live. They continued to live in Enid until 1975, when my mother had a stroke, and we had to bring them to us when we were living in Texas.
Okay.
So they were there 25 years.
So they wanted to further their education at Phillips?
Yes.
Okay.
My mother got her bachelor's degree there. we just sort of automatically think that teachers had degrees and kind of think of it as always. But that was not the case, in that when they had a certain number of hours, they were eligible to teach. And she didn't, when she went back to school in 1950, she did not have a bachelor's degree, but she completed her bachelor's degree and taught in the Enid
School
taught
system.
English in the Enid system.
And did your father taught in the Enid school system
No,
too?
he worked for Cold Irons,
Okay.
which was a retail business.
Discuss a little bit what it was like to grow up in the late 40s, early 50s, that era.
Ministers and school teachers moved around a lot. And we lived, this is not a complete history,
Okay.
but starting with Fountain Lake, which I had mentioned that they were teaching there, my father went back into the ministry and we moved to Prescott. We moved to Piggott, Arkansas, and we were there my 5th and 6th grade years. And it's now a manufacturing town.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was during World War II, and a lot of things were rationed, including shoes. And there was a small business there that made sandals. I was really hard on shoes, and I wore out my shoes and used up all my shoe stamps. And so I wore a lot of their sandals. Well, later, that became a shoe manufacturing company.
Okay.
And that is one of the major businesses there at Piggott, Arkansas. From Piggott, we moved to Hiawatha, Kansas, and my father was the minister of the First Christian Church there, and I attended 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. No. 6th, 7th, 6th and 7th grades there. We moved to Atwood, Kansas, where my father was the minister at the First Christian Church there. And I attended my 9th and 10th grade years.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went back to school at Phillips University. My mother got her bachelor's degree, and I graduated from Enid High School.
How big was the Enid High School at that time?
It had about 1,000 students at that time.
200.
And there were 3 schools, 3 high schools in Enid at that time. There was Enid High School, there was the Catholic High School, and that I was not even aware of until a T for senior girls. I became aware of the Catholic school when the Catholic young ladies, accompanied by one of the sisters, attended the senior girls' tea. There was also a black school there. That was during segregation.
Mm-hmm.
I have always enjoyed art and have always been creative. And I had done well in the art program at Enid High School. Catherine Bales was the art instructor, and she supervised the art program for the city of Enid. And I competed for a scholarship my junior year, and had I been eligible to start college, I could have with scholarship then, but I was just junior.
Mm-hmm.
So the next year I competed again. I had a summer scholarship, I believe, to K-State. These things it's been a long time ago, I'd have to look these things up. And then I did have a scholarship for my freshman year in college at Phillips University.
Was Vance up there at that time? Vance Air Force Base?
Oh yeah, Vance has been there forever. And by the way, Vance Air Force Base is named after the brother of Bill Vance. And the Vances were in the program in Ethiopia, went the same year to Ethiopia that we did. But it was Bill Vance's older brother that Vance Air Force Base was named after.
Did you see? So the town back then was influenced by the base and its ongoings, or?
Well, I was not very aware of it during my high school years, but I became aware of it while I was in college because some of the young men were taking courses at the universities. Some of the young men dated girls at the university.
So Enid back then was it an ag town, or what was the type of commerce
I
that
think Enid has always been an ag town. The big things were wheat, and that back then, Pillsbury Mills was a big thing there. And Union Equity Elevators were big grain storage centers. And Ian Puckett was, I believe, president of the co-op there, and he was the one who designed the hexagonal elevators. And he was a staunch Baptist, and he hired through Phillips University, he hired my father and my mother, and I was the tag-along, to conduct worship services before each construction crew went on their shift. So we went out at about 5:30 in the morning and about 5:30 in the afternoon to conduct a worship service for those men before they went on their shift. And I was the first time I was still in high school. And then they built another unit my freshman year in college. And that was where I met my husband. He was working on the night shift, and he and his brother, and they attended the worship services, and that's where I met him.
I was going to ask you how you met Conrad.
He had graduated from he had an interesting educational career because a lot of it was through the military, but he changed his major to ag and got his bachelor's degree here at then Oklahoma A&M. And he and his brother and his dad, and I believe that actually it was a three-way thing. His dad took them in to an agricultural business, farming business, and they had purchased. The family had been in the community forever, and they were in very good standing. And the banker was a friend, and they had purchased a lot of farm equipment on the strength of their good name. And so he was farming in the daytime and working on construction at night to pay for that farm equipment.
And you went to Phillips University. What degree were you trying to pursue?
An art education degree.
Art education? And that was your scholarship paid for that?
My scholarship was a one-year scholarship. Phillips University was church school, and consequently they didn't have the kind of scholarships that are available now. And I could live at home and go to school, and it would have been, financially I could not have gone to school under other conditions. So I got my bachelor's degree in 3.5 years, and my husband and I were married between my junior and senior years in college. My senior year was one semester long,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time I was working for Chaplin Refining Company as a draftsman,
Okay.
and we had signed our teaching contracts. We lived in Hennessy. My husband had taught there for a year, and we signed teaching contracts for the fall. And we had actually moved from our apartment into a house. We never even got the bed set up. We signed a contract to go to Ethiopia, contingent on release by Hennessy. And they did release us. After we'd been in Ethiopia 1 year, they wanted Conrad to come back and teach at Hennessy again. And our tours were 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then according to the contract, we had to be outside the country for a while. But we wound up spending 12 years in Ethiopia.
I know that. That's a while there. Describe for us Phillips University, because Phillips University is no longer in existence, and
That's true.
and well, it's now folded into the Phillips Seminary, which is now into Tulsa. And like, who was it for? Who ran it? How big were the classes? That type of thing.
Phillips University had a population about equal to Enid High School. When Enid High School had 1,000 students, so did Phillips University. So it was not a large campus. It was basically a church school. The Marshall Building housed the Bible College. They also were it would be considered a liberal arts college. They had some exceptionally good programs. They had an excellent music program, and Tri-State Band Festival was held in Enid every year. They had a really superior geology study and an excellent pre-med, and John Randolph was head of the art department there, and the art department was quite good. At that time, Tulsa University had probably the best art program in the state. But again, that was a private university and expensive, but they had an excellent program. And in ranking, I don't know how you would have ranked Phillips as far as an art program, because they were so much smaller than OU, TU, or then Oklahoma A&M. But TU had the best art program in the state.
But Phillips had a good reputation.
Phillips had an excellent reputation, and their education program, their teachers that came out of Phillips University were probably ranked the best in the state. Once they started doing testing, Phillips University teachers training students, I think ranked the highest in the state. It was a very good small school. And it had the benefit, being a small school, you knew everybody knew you.
Mm-hmm.
You could be involved. I think there was only one club on the whole campus that I was not involved with at some point in my 3.5 years in college.
Mm-hmm.
I was I was in the Honor Society my first 2 years of college. I was in the Literary Society. They did not have sororities and fraternities, but they had social service clubs,
Mm-hmm.
which was their version
Yes.
of sororities and fraternities. And I was involved with the international students quite a lot.
Mm.
And that was always very interesting. When we lived at Hiawatha, Kansas, Peter Solomon came from Phillips University, stayed with us while he talked about missions programs to our congregation. And that's how I became introduced to Phillips University. And as far as I was concerned, I was always going to go to Phillips University.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm. How did you pay for school the rest of your time there?
I worked.
You worked?
My freshman year in college cost my parents under $25. Of course, I lived at home, and
Yes.
I ate my meals at home, but as far as the financial outlay of additional funds, they didn't have that
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. And I did pay for my tuition through work.
Okay. And you were set to become an art teacher, but then all of a sudden this Ethiopia opportunity came up. How did that come up?
Conrad had classes under Hugh Rauch.
Hugh Rock?
Hugh Rauch.
Okay.
And you may have met Hazel Rauch.
No, I have not.
Hugh passed away a number of years ago. Hazel is, the last I knew, she was still living here in Stillwater. But she is elderly now and rather hard of hearing.
Mm.
So I don't know if she would be interested in doing this sort of thing or not. Anyway, Conrad told me, I think we were already married at that time and living at Hennessy.
Yeah, you're about to move
That
to...
Hugh was in the States and he was going to have an evening program, and Conrad and his brothers and his dad all went over to listen to Hugh's program. Actually, Conrad had told me about the program in Ethiopia before we were ever married, and I just laughed about it. I said, my mother wouldn't let me get that far from home. I was an only child. At any rate, Conrad and his brothers and his dad went to hear Hugh talk. And Hugh was actually back in the States recruiting for people to work in the program in Ethiopia. And he was interested in Conrad and Conrad's brother Dwayne. And they did send us papers, and Dwayne had gotten his papers, and we did not fill our papers out.
Mm-hmm.
And Conrad got a phone call one night asking him if we could be there by, I think, maybe 9 o'clock the next morning with our completed papers. And he hustled around and found the papers, and we completed them and went over and interviewed with Bill Abbott at Hugh Rauch. And that's how we wound up in Ethiopia.
What was your reaction to hearing that news?
About Ethiopia?
Yeah.
Well, you have to realize that I grew up in the church talking about missions, listening to missionaries, listening to people talk about the country that they had originated from. And I was an avid reader, and I had read a lot of books about other countries. I was a very avid reader as soon as I could read, and read about lots of different things. and I'm still an avid reader.
I can see stack right there.
Yeah, that's just a portion. At any rate, uh, most of the people in the Ethiopia project were young people. And although I'm sure I know I really didn't know what to expect, and I had been told what the population would be in the area where we were going to be, or in the capital. And so therefore I said, oh, they've got this much population, they're going to be like a town of that population in the States. Well, of course that's not. But I was young and inexperienced, and that was the best evaluation I could make.
Mm-hmm.
And young people are not fearful of new things.
Mm-hmm.
And I had grown up moving around and making new acquaintances. And there had been a lot of international students at Phillips University. And they had been my friends. And I don't think I had fears. Life is a big adventure.
Mm-hmm. And you were ready for this one, that's for sure.
Yes.
Did your mother have that reaction that you talked about earlier?
No.
No.
Not really. I think her regrets were after we had children, that the grandchildren were not closer so that she could see them more often.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How was it arranged for you? You talked about Mr. Abbott and Mr. Rock arranging for you to go over there, like the paperwork. Did you guys have to take an orientation process, or did you I'm trying to get the story between, yes, I accept this opportunity to go, and physically landing in Ethiopia. Can you take me through that process?
There was a manual that they provided us with, and it had information concerning acceptable dress, acceptable behavior. We realized that in another country there would be different food restrictions. There was an orientation, yes, but it was not elaborate. We did not need to learn a separate language because at that time they were teaching English, starting with third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many different linguistic dialects spoken in Ethiopia that our students from the north of the country conversed with students from other areas in English. And the people we were encouraged, our local people, to help take care of our homes. And they wanted to learn English. So language was not too much of a problem.
Okay. Now, what about what kind of materials did you take over there? Like, did you take besides clothing? Did you take beds? Did you take? I'm just trying to.
Well, let's talk about food because that's kind of interesting. Mrs. Laporte was one of the ladies that was one of the cooks, and Conrad gets along with people well, and the cooks in the school lunchroom loved him, and they used to just feed him a tremendous amount of food. You finally had had to quit eating at school lunchroom because he was gaining weight. And they were feeding him so much. Mrs. Laporte helped us make out a grocery order. At that time, people ordered groceries through a company called Leggett's, and the groceries were shipped. Mrs. Laporte had a large family, and so when she helped us make out our grocery order, there was so much food on that Conrad and I looked at it just absolutely amazed and went through and changed everything because we were only two people, and she had this large family of children and young boys in athletics, and her quantities of food that she would have purchased didn't fit our family very well. So, and we all had vegetable gardens that were close to our house. We could buy from the school, from their school gardens, because they raised their produce to use to feed the students. And the students were required to do a certain amount of labor.
Yes.
And so they worked in the vegetable gardens, and we could buy meat that was butchered. Now we had kerosene refrigerators, and that was a problem. Electricity was a problem. We bought canned milk. It was whole milk, dried, powdered. The brand was Klim, which is K-L-I-M, milk spelled backwards, and it was a product of Netherlands. And we had to boil and filter our water, and you mixed according to the formula on the can.
Yes.
With your boiled and filtered water, and you used the kerosene refrigerator because we only had electricity from 8 to, I think it was 6 to 8 in the morning, so that the governor could listen to the news. And then we had it from 12 to 1 so he could hear the news again. And then the electricity didn't come on until 6 in the evening. Now the generators came over in the 1890s and were only two-phase, and so the electricity didn't produce enough electricity for the whole town. And we were on the relief phase, and our electricity went off when everybody else turned their lights on. So, hence kerosene refrigerators.
Yes.
And we visited with other families and learned to play bridge.
Now, did you bring, like I said, I was just wondering.
What did we bring?
Yes.
In we flew first class. And back in those days, you had a lot more luggage. We just returned from a trip where we were flying. We had one suitcase piece and one carry-on, and we paid $20 per bag.
I was just on that
things
trip.
were different.
Yes.
And we were allowed first-class air travel. In my carry-on, I had Presto pressure pan.
Okay.
And I had pliers and flashlight and sheets, blankets, and towels.
I think you went over the weight limit back then.
As a matter of fact, I don't think we did.
Oh.
Because we were just two, and we hadn't been married that long.
Oh, so you didn't have
So
much.
we didn't have that much stuff.
Well, that's good.
And we sold our furniture and the things that we had. See, we had just had an apartment. We hadn't had a whole house. And so we took a lot of things that we would need.
Yeah. Like tools, like hand tools and... Okay.
Now,
How long was the flight? Because I kind
Well,
of
we flew overnight.
Conrad told me that you stopped at various locations.
We did. We flew from New York to Shannon, Ireland overnight. And then we had breakfast from Shannon to, I think our next stop was Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And from Rome, then we went to Cairo. And Cairo, we probably stopped in Khartoum.
Okay.
But we didn't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And then on into to Addis Ababa.
Mm-hmm. But, and you saw some of the sights in Rome, right?
Yes.
And you played tourist for a little bit?
Yes. 3 days, I think.
Mm-hmm. So.
We stayed at the Metropole and saw as much as possible.
Yes, in 3 days.
And I really like Rome.
Mm-hmm.
We almost always spent some time in Rome.
Coming back and forth during your inner time, I should say. Your leave time. And he said that you also went to the pyramids?
Mm-hmm.
What was that
Outside of Cairo.
Mm-hmm. What was?
I have pictures. I have a photograph of us taken on camels with the pyramids in the background, and that was in 1958, and on with Conrad on his camel was our 14-month-old son Brian, and that was kind of interesting because the people who led the camels would talk with you, and you found out that their camel was named Oklahoma because they knew that they had asked you where you were from. Oh, we're from Oklahoma. Oh, my camel is named Oklahoma. I'm sure it was named Nebraska or whatever. But at any rate, it was very interesting.
How did your son travel?
Our children, because they were born into it, Brian flew for the first time when he was 3 days old.
Really?
So we flew I was on a flight from Addis Ababa to Jima when he was 3 days old, when I brought him home from hospital.
Okay.
So they always did, and they did fine.
But when you were going over there, it was just you two? Okay. And first off, so you land in Addis, and you had some time in Addis, right?
Yes.
Because they
wanted us to go to the embassy.
Okay.
Because they wanted us to have an orientation at the embassy. And what I remember was that they said, don't eat the salad and be careful about strawberries. Everybody boiled water and filtered water and washed leafy greens and things like that with Clorox water. And I mean, the only thing that did not arrive in our grocery order was our Clorox. So we didn't have Clorox to wash our vegetables in, and we probably had less intestinal disturbance than anybody else.
Probably Clorox probably did more harm than good.
Well, it surely did make lettuce taste funny.
Yeah. What's that tang to? That's the bleach. What was Addis like at that time? How big of a city do you remember? What were was there vehicles or was there large open markets, that type of thing?
You realize that the Italians, when the Italian occupation ended, the emperor realized that his country had a long way to catch up, and he did not ask the Italians to leave. Foreigners could not own land. They still can't. But some foreigners did marry Ethiopians, and therefore their wives could own land. Now I think companies can have a long-term lease. That kind of depends on how stable the government is. And I think that's pretty well true across the world. Depends on government stability. Yes. We arrived there. We had left Oklahoma when it was so hot that, and this was before everybody had air conditioning, we would be so sweat down from our cars that we would have to stand outside and let our clothing dry before we could go into the buildings for interviews. And we arrived in Addis Ababa in the middle of the rainy season. And it was cold. There were blankets on our beds. In a city that is not completely paved, you have pretty muddy streets.
That's right.
And while there were normal vehicles, and a lot of them were Italian, a lot of Italian trucks.
Like Fiat?
Yes. 1500 is a certain size truck.
Okay.
And there were mule-drawn, the equivalent of a taxi, and it could be. You've seen pedal cabs.
Yes.
It could be mule-drawn, but have a small interior to keep you dry. And through the years, eventually, Addis changed enough that there were areas where the mule-drawn vehicles were not allowed to travel. But back then, shake your liver loose. There were no shock absorbers on those things, and the streets were not smooth. Some of the streets were red paved. Some of them were asphalt, I would assume. We only spent a short period of time.
Was it like 2 weeks?
Oh no, more like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, okay.
And then we met some families there, and they entertained us. And what was really interesting, breakfast in our hotel. It looked like bacon and eggs, but it was actually anchovies on top of the eggs, and that was a new acquaintance, anchovies. We thought we were having sliced peaches for dessert, and it was papaya. That was a new experience. Neither my husband nor I have been extremely conservative in our foods, and it's exciting.
Yes.
To eat the food
you like to
of
try
other
new
countries.
things. Yes.
And at that time, the waiters in the hotels wore white coats, black ties, white gloves, towel over the arm. Very nice. I love Italian bread.
That'll make me hungry. So what year were you 50?
1956.
56 to 68? Okay, just to get that straight on the record. And where were you assigned first?
Jima.
Jima? And how long were you in Jima?
8 years.
Okay. Alright. I'll just check this here.
We were 8 years in Jima and 4 years in Almaya.
Okay. And the final 4 years were in Alma?
Almaya.
Alright.
At one point in time, when they thought that they could, and of course our government was pushing to be done with this project in Ethiopia so they could put more emphasis in other areas. And there was a U.S. military base in Eritrea, Cagnoon.
Mm-hmm.
And we did buy shares in the commissary, and when we were in Addis, or we could order groceries. And that was really interesting because the grocery orders for the 10 families were combined, and so when a shipment of groceries came in, then all this food had to be sorted.
Mm-hmm.
And never did we ever get all that we ordered.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to be prorated,
Yes.
and then prorated by the number of people in the family, the size of your order. That was kind of interesting. We bought local eggs. We shopped in the local market for limes and potatoes and whatever.
Did you trade or did you?
No, we went shopping. And you learn.
What currency did you guys use?
We used Ethiopian currency. A birr, B-I-R-R, was $1, the equivalent of 40 cents US. A shilling was 50 cents. A duty was a nickel. Centime was a penny.
Mm-hmm.
Roulette duty was 2 nickels or 10 cents.
Didn't Selassie base his currency on the U.S. dollar, basically?
In fact, the Ethiopian money was printed in the United States for a long, long time. And we were not there too many years before silver currency was taken off the market. But the local people did not like to use the paper money because they didn't have a very good storage system for it.
Mm.
And among our missionary friends, they would get coins and pay their workers with coins, because
Yes.
coins could be, coins didn't burn, coins were not eaten by bugs or rodents or whatever.
It didn't blow away.
Mm-hmm.
So you first went to Jima. How did you get to Jima from Addis?
We flew. American Airlines was the parent company of Ethiopian Airlines, and Ethiopian Airlines, most of their planes were DC-3s, which were probably Army surplus, and the pilots were trained in the United States. Lim Tu was one of the pilots that was best known, and there's been a book written about him. Paul Brown was one of the pilots that we knew that flew into Jima. Conrad knows all those people, I didn't. But, and he flew a lot of places that I did not. But it was about an hour's flying time from Jima to Addis. Jima had a grass airport when we first went there, and people would have to shoot the gazelles off the runway so the planes could land. A plane flew in the morning, flew back to Addis in the afternoon.
Okay.
After it dropped people off at Jima and went to a couple of other places. People from the school would go to the airport and meet folks. And the school had a certain amount of vehicles, which one could rent on weekends for trips out in the country if you decided you wanted to go on a picnic or something.
Where were you, what was your first living arrangement like? What was that like?
The Jima school compound had been a Catholic mission. And when people first moved there, it was pretty run down, I think. But the Italians built well. And we had solid masonry walls. We had cement tile floors. We had tile roofs or tin roofs, depending on whether or not they had been replaced. We had water because the school had wells, and they also had water towers, and water was a big problem always. There was a stream that ran through the lower garden that they pumped water during the dry season. The town generated electricity through the water in those streams during the rainy season.
Mm-hmm.
During the dry season, they generated electricity burning charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in a duplex. The Turners lived on the other end, and we had 2 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, living room.
Okay.
And for 2 people, that's
That's
plenty of room.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were still living in that house when our second son was born.
Mm-hmm. How long did you live in that house?
Well, they moved us to a larger house when our second son, who was born in 58, so if we went 56, and he was, I would say 59, we moved to a larger house, and then roughly about 1960, we moved to the Journey Experiment Station.
Okay.
Which was still a part of the Jima school.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that it was away from the main compound.
Mm-hmm. Did you own the house, or did the
school did.
The school own the? And you didn't have to.
Well, the government owns everything, but
Yes.
it was the school.
It was run by the school.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to pay rent, or
No.
that was part of your package of living and working there.
It was furnished.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop this tape here because it's about to run out. Then they'll continue discussing Jima and work our way up to Alamaya. All right. Yeah, we're discussing her experiences in Jima, and again with Joey Evans. Did you have servants, or a cook, or a cleaner, or that type of thing?
Everybody had household employees.
Mm-hmm.
And a gardener. Now, a gardener started the charcoal fires to heat the hot water. See, we had a charcoal hot water heater back in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to build a charcoal fire in the charcoal hot water heater, and you knew it was ready when the water came out the spout that was up above the roof, and it was like a perking coffee pot.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down on the roof, and it sounded like rain or hail on the roof. And later, when we moved out to the experiment station, we had an electric hot water heater, and that's when we had electricity all day long.
Did you have Did you have indoor plumbing?
Yes.
And
now the water closet was up when we first went and lived in the buildings that had been built by the Jesuits when that was the school. The water closet was a little metal thing up on, at the top with it had a chain and a handle, and it gravity flow. And one night I went into the bathroom. This was after we had 2 children, and there were the toes of my red tennis shoes sticking up out of the water. It was still because our toddler had carried the shoes and they put them in the bathroom in the stool.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we had indoor plumbing.
Okay. Could you take me through a typical day? What kind of activities would you do since your husband was teaching or doing research? What would you do during the day?
Well, when we first went there, I taught the American children 4 days a week in the afternoons, art, and gave private lessons on Friday. I like to cook. I am a very good cook, and I fix gourmet food. I do Ethiopian food very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't have a cook.
Oh, okay.
I did cooking. I sewed. I learned to, well, my father gave me a sewing machine for Christmas when I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little Singer that was about so big, and it had a hand crank, and it sewed with a chain stitch, and I made doll clothes. And then later, the way the school programs were set up, the 7th and 8th grade girls had 1 semester of PE and 1 semester of sewing in the 7th grade, and 1 semester of PE and 1 semester of cooking in the 8th grade. So I had a semester of sewing in the 7th grade. But I, being a art person, during the years we were in Ethiopia, when I had household help to do the floors and wash the dishes and sweep and dust, then I could do the things I wanted to do. And Conrad bought me a white electric sewing machine before we went to Ethiopia, and I sewed.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked flowers, and I messed with my garden. We had an outdoor person who made the fires and tended the garden. But I like to mess with the flowers, and I planned the garden. And we did a lot of entertaining. And the men hauled in termite mounds from the countryside and crushed them. And built
Termite what?
Termite mounds.
Termite mounds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They come up out of the ground. They build these out of mud. You've seen dirt dauber nests.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way a dirt dauber brings stuff and builds things, and it's stuck together with the saliva of the insect. Termites do this too, only they are vertical, and they're hard like cement.
Mm.
And they crushed them, and they had made a roller, and they rolled those courts, and we didn't have lights on our courts, so we couldn't play after dark, but we got pretty good at tennis.
Ah.
And so you played tennis. We went camping on weekends. We invited our friends over for meals. We went to their house for meals. When our lights went off, we went over to the neighbors and played cards.
Mm-hmm. Bridge?
Learned to play bridge. Still not a good bridge player. I haven't played since I came back to the States, because you can't have 4 children and keep a house and work and go to school and play bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So bridge would bother me so.
What did you grew vegetables as well in the garden?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of vegetables did you grow?
Green beans did not grow. It was too wet. They were bought in the rainy season. They were great dry season vegetables. Cucumbers, tomatoes, onions. You could grow potatoes if you wanted to, but you could also buy those in the market. And you could buy limes and papaya, and I had some marvelous lima bean vines that grew up the papaya trees. And when we lived out on the Jarrett Experiment Station, we had this fantastic strawberry bed that produced enough strawberries for us and people at the mission and the families in on the campus. And if you ever got tired of strawberries, I had made so much strawberry jam and we'd eat so many fresh strawberries, we were just really tired of them. We don't have strawberries like that now.
Mm-hmm. What was your social like, or social circle like? Who was in it? Who did you become friends with?
Well, there were 10 families. And like any other situation, there were some that you were closer to than others.
Mm-hmm.
And you tended to spend more time with people you were close to. But we had Thanksgiving dinner together, the whole bunch of us. Jima was marvelous for that. All of us had children. And so we were all family people, and we were together as families.
Mm-hmm.
There was a cinema. There were 3 cinemas in the country. There was one at Jima, one at Harar. No, Daradawa.
Daradawa?
One at Jima, one at Daradawa, and then there were a total of 3 finally in Addis. And the men had dormitory check duty, and we also took the students to the movies on weekends. And we would walk downtown as a group and go to the movie, and then walk back up the hill as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to the movies. On the weekends, there was a movie.
Were they American films, or were they
There were
Italian?
English films, because all the people could speak.
Okay.
Almost all the people. Now, not everybody went to the movies, you understand.
Yes.
That wasn't something that the local people did. Mostly because of expense, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
People merchants from the market would go. The Italian families would go. When I say Italian, it's almost a generic term, meaning the other foreigners other than the Americans.
I heard Jima was really, there was a lot of, not just Italians, not just Americans, but other foreign nationalities. I hear it was really cosmopolitan.
Yes.
And like you could go to get French cuisine, you could do that type of thing. Maybe share with us your experience about interaction with other foreign nationals.
There were not too many that other than shopping. Now, Conrad had a lot of contact, but I took care of my children. I did our cooking. I did my sewing. We also went to the governor's wife maybe twice a month, maybe once a month, and we had tea in the afternoon.
Okay.
And she would arrange something for entertainment. We might knit or sew or something. because we didn't have electricity, Conrad bought me a new Necky treadle sewing machine. And the governor's wife bought my electric white. And she had a baby just shortly after we came there, and I had made a little infant garment for her baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so when our child was born, our first child was born, she gave us a silver service of a knife, fork, spoon, feeding spoon, egg cup, and napkin ring.
Wow.
And
Do you still have that set?
I don't now. My oldest son does.
Okay.
There's one piece that's missing. The feeding spoon went. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Things did tend to go sometimes. So we would go to the governor's wife, and she might have an Indian lady show us how to make chapatis and stuff them with, I remember a mixture of onion and mint and potatoes that were stuffed in a chapati like we would make a burrito here. And that was very good, very
Sounds
tasty. Sometimes we just visited. Everybody, the staff, meaning the husbands and wives, had coffee together at 10 o'clock in the morning. And at GMA, we took turns having coffee at the various people's homes. And after we moved out to the experiment station, that wouldn't work. So I would bring baked goodie to serve with coffee. And then the afternoon, there might be someone that you were closer friends with. You might go over and have a Coke with. Now, Coke syrup came in gallon cans.
Okay.
And we had, we could make fizzy water. We had you screwed the
Air tank?
carbon
Yeah.
thing on.
Carbon CO2.
Looked like a little metal bomb thing about so big.
Yeah.
And you screwed that on, and it carbonated the water.
Mm-hmm.
And you squirted it.
You mix the water with the syrup.
So you might go have Coke at somebody's house. Now, later, when they, and I can't tell you exactly what year, but I know it was before 1964, because after we lived out on the Sharon compound, we had bottled Cokes. When they got the standard of water and stuff up to Coca-Cola's standard,
Yeah.
they could bottle in country. And I actually have some bottles
That's cool.
that have Amharic Coca-Cola on them. Amharic.
That's cool.
So basically we played bridge, we visited, we went on picnics, we made our entertainment a lot.
Well, and you also kept busy because you had all four of your sons. You being pregnant over there, were you concerned with the medical facilities? Did you
I've been real healthy up until I'm going to be 76 in July. And up until just the last year or two, I've been exceptionally healthy. And so I was not overly concerned about my health. Actually, our son Brian was the first child that was born to our group in country. There had been pregnancies before, but people had gone outside of Ethiopia to have the child. So it was kind of exciting to people for us to have Brian. He was born at home. Our facilities at home were better than at the hospital at that time. I did have some checkups in Addis at the Seventh-day Adventist Stillwater Hospital there. I did not have big problems. I said he was born at home. Craig was born at home.
Okay.
Brian I had at the Stillwater Hospital in Addis.
And this was the 7th-day?
Sir,
Was
Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
Stillwater was the name of I believe some springs. It was also the Princess Zuditu Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
So you've read War and Peace maybe, and you know that everybody has multiple names.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Things had multiple names.
Now, at the Seventh-day Adventist, I know maybe Conrad told me the story or someone else, but you asked for meat. Was that you?
You don't have meat.
Yes.
You have a meat substitute.
Mm-hmm.
They would, they made gluten by kneading flour an extremely long time, and it develops the gluten. Then you wash it. That washes the starch out, and you have this brown stuff that they sliced and would put tomatoes and onions and peppers on and bake it like Swiss steak.
Uh-huh.
It was absolutely delicious.
Oh.
And when they had that, that was just marvelous. Otherwise, because Coptic Christians and Muslims have special handling on Jewish people and others, and then there are the infidels that will eat anything. So it was easier for them to manage meat substitute meals.
Yes.
Back in there, when we had two children by that time. I had hepatitis, and they flew me to Addis to the hospital, and I was in the hospital 19 days.
Wow.
And then I was in bed a total of 39, 40 days. But anyway, I was there during my birthday, and they actually baked me an angel food cake for my birthday because the emperor and I celebrated our birthdays at the same time. Because the emperor's birthday was on the 23rd of July. My birthday was on the 24th. But the celebrations always went past midnight. So I included my celebration with the emperor's. And that's another of my jokes, my little jokes. I remember they made, when I was in the hospital, I was thrilled over oatmeal cookies. I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't even keep tea or water down. I was really pretty sick. And I'm sure they were making special things for me to try to get me to eat.
Yes.
Nobody tries to get me to eat now. But that was a long time ago. Anyway, they took very good care of me.
What do you remember about your children growing up there?
Oh, that's really marvelous. That was, my mother felt so bad. Oh, think what the children are missing. Well, what the children were missing was Grandma was missing the children. But our children, first of all, they learned to associate with other children. of other nationalities,
Mm.
and they accepted each other. And when the day comes that adults can accept each other like children do, then we'll have fewer problems.
Mhm.
Our children spoke a smattering of everything. Our English friend had a kindergarten, and there were Italian, Greek, Amharic, Israeli, American, what have you, children there. And they were all together, and it was wonderful. And we were good friends with the family that ran the hotel. And he was Italian, and she was Greek Amhara. And the little boy and Brian went to the same kindergarten. And their daddy, who was also an engineer and a construction person and an inventor, and the Italians could do so many things. He built the most wonderful ice cream maker from scratch.
Yeah.
So we could go to the hotel on Sunday night, which was another one of our entertainments, was go eat out at the hotel on Sunday night, en masse, all of us.
Yeah.
And he had this huge thing that made, and it had a bicycle gear chain, and it had paddles like an old-fashioned butter churn, and they made gelati that was just oh so good, and a fabulous spaghetti sauce, and cutlet. It was such a treat to go to the hotel for supper on Sunday night. Anyway, his daddy asked the boys, how did they talk to each other? And Hugo told his daddy, we speak English. And his daddy showed him a hard roll, and he said, what's this? He says, dabo. Dabo was an Amharic term for bread. So here was this child that was Italian, Greek, Amhara mix. Looks like you and me.
Yes.
Here's our child, who's Scotch, Irish, English, Welsh, Dutch, German, French, American, Indian, what have you, Americans, Heinz 57.
Yeah.
And they're talking together in English, Greek, Italian, Amharic, Dabo.
That's awesome.
And it really was. It was wonderful. And I remember one time Brian said to me about his little friend, Mama, how come he's black and I'm white? And I gave him a marvelous answer. It wasn't a valid answer, but it solved the problem. He said, he's not black, he's brown, and you're not white, you're pink. And that was the end of it.
There you go. What are your children's names, and just how old, just biographical information, how old are they, like when were they born, that type of thing?
Brian was born in 57, May 17th, 1957.
Mm-hmm.
Craig was born January 24th, 1959. Kent was born October 12th, 1961, and Sean was born January 15th, 1964. And that picture that I showed you was taken in the summer when we came back in July.
Okay.
Actually, they had on sweaters, so it had to be early fall.
What do you think the impact of Ethiopia had on their lives?
Our second son, Craig, was the horticulture specialist for Cleveland County, and they published a statement They had, this was an interview. When he first went to work there. And he said, he made the comment that the importance of black and white was not an issue. They were our brothers. That covers it.
And did they see the servants as part of the family, or did they see them separate?
We had all boys, and usually the person who stayed with the children at night was either someone who worked for us. Abdullah was like 17, and when Brian was 12. So it was kids together. But in his culture, 17 was a man. But and who knows how many years he'd been working. But we also had a student, because we lived out on the experiment station, away from the others. It needed to be someone who could drive if there was an emergency. So we had, he is a beloved friend now. And he's probably as older than I am. Right now, I believe he's in the States. His family, his second family, is here in the States, but his business is still in Ethiopia, and so he spends about 3 months of the year in the States, and the rest of the year he spends in Ethiopia conducting their business, and he'll probably do that. They don't have a retirement plan like we have. Now, speaking of families and friends,
Okay.
we just got an email from a friend who had been in Houston to celebrate the graduation of their youngest son from Baylor Medical School. The oldest son, Yanabi, is with a big publishing firm in New York City. The daughter is an OBGYN doctor, and she is married to a doctor, and they have 3 sons. And Yanabi just graduated from medical school. We attended Yodel's high school graduation, and we attended her wedding.
This is the friends from
Another Ethiopian family here in the States. Some of these people are more dear to us
yes.
than our own family members.
Yeah, because they were there for your formative years, to say the least.
My formative years. We went to Ethiopia 2 weeks after my 22nd birthday, and we came back when I was 32 years old. So my young adult years were spent in Ethiopia.
And shaped by those experiences.
Very much so.
What was Jima like? How big of a town was it?
Jima was to have been the new Rome, because it's gorgeous. Gorgeous country. Anything will grow there. I had 36 varieties of hybrid tea roses
Oh, wow.
that I had paid 75 cents a piece for and had flown in from Kenya. In my front yard, I had bottle brush trees that I'd started from cuttings. Across the top of our house were bougainvillea. I had 14 stalks of bananas ripening on my own trees. You have to take them down and they ripen in the dark closet. But they're ready to be ripened. And I had a navel tree in the front yard that it's either Italian or Greek, probably Greek, and it produces a fruit that you can make the equivalent of apple jelly.
Mm.
It's the flavor.
Yes.
This was the coffee experiment station just outside our fence where all these coffee trees in bloom, and the perfume is like jasmine.
Mm.
We had a large Danish Hound German Shepherd Cross dog. Her name was Mita. It translates in German as Pearl. And she took off across the field, and she was chasing a leopard. Brian had his own machete. Now he was preschool age, but he had a little machete, and he would go down in the field with the workers and cut the corn stalks. And when it came time for me to go into the compound for coffee, I would honk the car from the road, and the workers would hold him up in the field above the corn so that I could see him, and he would come and he would go in with me. And all our children learned to drink coffee as toddlers because they would toddle around the coffee tables and drink the dregs of the coffee out of the coffee cups been left on the tables. And the kids chewed coffee beans. They thought that was just marvelous. They'd go pick the coffee cherries off the tree, and they're red when they're ready to eat or use. And they have a sweet pulp around the seeds. Sometimes they have worms in the pulp. After they found out there were worms in there, they quit doing that.
Worms are protein. Come on now.
Well, that's true, and we found that out once upon a time, but that's not really on the menu for a dinner tonight.
Mm-hmm. So, Jimo, how big was, like, size-wise?
It was, I believe, the third largest city in Ethiopia. And it had some beautiful areas there. As a treat to myself, I used to go drive up the avenue in front of, it must have been the governor's home.
Mm-hmm.
But it had these huge big trees that grew together. It was beautiful.
And you said you celebrated Thanksgiving, and I assume you celebrate Christmas.
Mm-hmm. We saw Christmas twice.
The Coptic.
We celebrated December 25th, and the mission had a special Christmas program that our children participated in, and we would give them gifts of flour and sugar and Crisco prior to Christmas so that they could make goodies like they were used to at home. And we had a community, our 10 families, together for Christmas dinner. And it was a big thing to be able to find a turkey so that we could have turkey. And Then Ethiopian Christmas came the 6th of January, 5th or 6th of January, and students celebrate that. And we did too. And we celebrated Ramadan.
Okay.
We didn't, but the Ramadan was a difficult time because of the restrictions placed on the workers. And it's really hard on them.
Yeah.
To be without water during the day and not even to be able to swallow your own saliva. And our friends who worked for the government hospital, a German doctor that delivered our second child, said that since the people had been deprived of protein
Yes.
during this time, and then in the feasting that came at the end, that some people actually did die from overeating.
Yeah,
and the change in the large amounts of food and the change in diet. Some people actually did die.
Did you celebrate Eid, EID, that holiday, the Muslim holiday?
I'm aware of it now, but I was not then.
Okay.
Timkut was a Coptic Christian holiday, and that was the baptism. And the priests would parade from the church and carry when they carried the Ark of the Covenant, that was actually the box that could have contained the tablets of the Ten Commandments. Anyway, there were holy things from their church
Yes.
that they paraded with. And there was public baptism. There was a big fountain. And because of the school, the people associated with the school were honored guests. And we were the dignitaries that sat in the chairs for the celebrations.
Did you actually attend any worship services or mass at the Coptic church?
Weddings were the only things that people might have attended. I happened not to have attended. I did attend a Greek wedding when we lived in Daragawa. But at Jima, we went to the mission on Sunday morning, and the people who at the mission there were Reformed Mennonite. And that was another one of the lovely things. We all went to church together, with the exception of one particular group of people that didn't do that. And that was their choice.
Okay.
That was a personal choice. And the lovely thing was we worshiped together, and we didn't know what church anybody went to. I still don't know what church some of those people went to, and it didn't matter at all.
All right, we've been skirting around this, but you're a cook. What were your favorite Ethiopian dishes that you prepared? What was your favorite foods that you enjoyed? What about your husband and children? That type of thing.
They eat all the Ethiopian food. The only thing they don't like is there is a diced kidney liver mixture that they don't care for. It can be lightly cooked or it can be served raw, and they don't like that. I would like to be able to show you a cookbook. I can show you the old copies. The new one that has my name in it, and in the acknowledgments, he thanks me and I can't find that. I took it up to the university as a reference. I think I brought it home.
Okay.
I can't find
Well,
it.
so, and
I can make beef wat, I can make doro wat, which is chicken with eggs, and is very highly seasoned and spiced. My original recipe called for a pound of butter, a quart of chopped onions, 2 heaping tablespoons of red pepper, and multiple spices. I make lentil wat, I can make kick wat, which is yellow split peas. I can make vegetable leche. I love gomen, which is there like spinach, but it's actually collard greens. And there's ibe, which is a mixture. It's very like cottage cheese mixed with yogurt. And they can make that dry. They mix butter with it when they do that. I make a vegetable wat that has turmeric in it. Their spice is herb. And it's not a hot spice, but it has hot green peppers in it. It also has strips of bell pepper. It has cabbage and potatoes and carrots. And they make one that has green beans in it, fresh green beans in it. Oh, it's good. And there is a restaurant in Addis. There's a restaurant in Oklahoma City.
yes,
The Queen of Sheba.
the Queen of Sheba.
And we go there. And they're no longer serving lunch except on Saturdays. So you have to plan an evening trip.
Yes. I've heard that it's pretty good.
It is. And it's expensive to eat Ethiopian food because there's so much preparation, fine mincing and chopping.
But it's worth it.
Of course. And I have some wonderful basketry there. If you go to like a restaurant, an Ethiopian restaurant in Washington, D.C., like the Blue Nile, or they will have the table, the basket table, and those cost $1,500 for one. They don't make them much anymore. I have basketry that is museum quality. They don't make it anymore.
Do you still prepare those dishes?
Yes.
How often do you?
And Sean can too. In fact, he's going to Washington, D.C. No, he's going to New York City. For about a week in early June, and his friends, you can stay with us, but you have to fix Ethiopian food. So he can do the whole thing. And he does it here at home for us sometimes, if I will make the injera. And I'm really not, that's the Ethiopian bread, I'm really not all that good at it, because I don't do it often enough. But it's fun.
Yeah. Why was your husband, did his assignment change that you guys were sent from Juma to Alamaya?
It's an interesting story. I started to tell you about that our government was interested in closing that program because they wanted to put their emphasis in another area of the world. And the first person that they actually had trained, that they felt that they could put in charge of a department, other than an administrator, was Otto Temeskin. And Temeskin was an orphan who had been raised by, I believe he was Yugoslavian, person who was in the country to do arms to instruct them in arms manufacture. But, and they had planned, they had told us we were to be moved to Deborah State, which was the experiment station outside of Addis. And Timskin said, I'll quit. I won't replace him. I'll quit.
Mm.
And so they decided they'd keep us. They wouldn't let us go. They had plans, actually, to, well, and then they did move us to Alamania.
Mm-hmm.
But Timskin was absolutely not going to do that. I quit. You can't move him.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't.
What'd you think of Alamaya? What was your impressions of Alamaya?
Well, of course, it was the epitome of the program. But it was not as relaxed. It was not as, all the families, it was larger.
Mm-hmm.
All the families, maybe their backgrounds were different. Their social entertainment was different.
The American families?
Uh-huh. Not all of them were from Oklahoma. And at one point in time, most of the people were from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Jima was a really unique place in that everybody was so very compatible. And we did everything families. And it was a bit different at Alamania. I enjoyed it, but
Did it take some time for the use there? Or no?
I have said that I grew up moving around and experiencing different things.
And Jima was probably the
In
most.
my life, I had never lived as long any
Yeah.
place as we lived at Jima, and that was home.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't have my parents there.
Yes.
Didn't have Conrad's parents there.
Mm-hmm. But what do you think about the landscape of? I just heard Alamaya was just so beautiful because it was up in the mountains. There was a lake right next to it, and
It was different than Jima. Jima had so much more rainfall and was more tropical than Alamaya. Alamaya was beautiful because they created beauty. Now, everything didn't grow as profusely in the countryside as it did on the campus.
mm-hmm.
But that was a show place, and it was beautiful.
Oh yes.
It was lovely to live there.
And it sort of had to be because that was
Yes.
the emperor's lands right there. That was
Yes.
his showcase.
Yes. And all the homes were new.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was built there. That was not the original location that they had planned, but it was the area of the emperor's birthplace.
Mm-hmm.
And so they moved the people off the hillside, and everything was built. And we had, I'm pretty sure our people would have been hard put to all have homes of that quality. Had we been planked down and told to have a home, we couldn't have had the large homes that we had. One reason we had large homes was that those homes, we entertained the people
Yes.
that came to visit. We didn't call up the hotel and say, hey, we need so many suites. The new Holiday Inn is where we will be having our October 9th and 10th gathering, and they have reserved 10 rooms for us.
Was there any political trouble that you were aware of during your time there?
They had an attempted coup while we were at GEMA, and I was in Addis to go to the dentist when that occurred, and I flew back the morning of it happened an afternoon, late afternoon, evening, and the next day, and I flew back to GEMA the morning of that, and so I was back in our area, and we lived on the experiment station and wanted us to come into the compound, the school compound. We did not, because to move a household of 4 little kids, that'd be a major undertaking, and we didn't feel endangered, and I don't think we were. One person, I was downtown, and I was at the Meston Hotel.
The what?
Meston Hotel.
Okay.
That's where my friends ran the hotel.
Oh, this is the Greek Italian company? Okay.
And one person made a move toward me, and another Ethiopian reached out, and that's the only thing. He just took a step in my direction, that's all. We probably were safer than we are in this room right now when we were there, because we were protected by 2 governments. And I know that Sean was little, and people were going to come over for a party at our house. We got everything ready, and we were just relaxing, just talking out, and our kitchen door opened onto the driveway, and we were just there talking, and we realized we didn't know where Sean was. And Sean was real little, and like 2, 3, he was 4 and a half when we came back to the States. So I know he was, the oldest he could have been was 4. And we couldn't find him, and we made the circuit of all the houses, and nobody could find him. And the students turned out, and they were combing the hillside and couldn't find him. And because of the wildlife that moved through the campus at dark, that was serious. And it turned out he was next door. He just walked down the hill and gone in the house, gone back to the kids' bedroom, was sitting on the floor by the side of the bed looking at comic books. And it scared the daylights out of me.
Okay, how did you maintain contact with relatives back home?
First of all, we had APO. So we could write letters. We wrote airmail letters. And I wrote every Sunday. I hate to write letters. I wrote every Sunday afternoon. And eventually, once we got a typewriter, I made carbon copies. And I wrote in real detail, but one thing I did not do, I did not, if there was something going on that was a real problem, or if someone was really sick, I never sent that information, because there wasn't anything they could do anyway. Yes. And we were the ones who had to deal with it. And we did. And we're real fortunate. And there were some families that did have some very unfortunate things. But we were fortunate.
How did you record your stay? Did you take photographs? Did you write in a journal? You said you sent out letters. Like, what did you do to capture your experience?
My mother saved every letter that we ever wrote. And Lloyd Douglas was writing a history of the program. And my mother had them in a grocery sack. And I just gave him the grocery sack. And what he liked about my letters was it was a lot about family life, about all the birthday celebrations and all, who came over to dinner and who we went to dinner with and what picnics we went on, and we've got lots of pictures. Sean was 4 and a half when we came back to the States. He says he does not remember anything about Ethiopia except what he has heard us talk about and the pictures that he had seen. And his first recollection on his own is when we were on the celly and we were around the fire pit and Kilimanjaro was in the background. He was just too young when we came home. All the other boys, and you were talking about adjustment, and some of the adjustment was hard because that was the only life they knew, with the exception of the short periods of time we were on leave.
Were you able to see the entire country of Ethiopia? Did you travel throughout the country?
I didn't. Conrad saw more of it than I did. I gave him as a gift. I had sold some paintings, and I gave him the money to go to Lalabella, and he wouldn't go without all of us. And so there are things that we didn't see. But since he went back and had this forestry program that he was overseeing for World Bank from 90 through 95, there are things he saw that I did not. Also, he saw the countryside because after we had 2 children, I couldn't carry 2 children and keep up. He couldn't carry a child and a gun and hunt. So there were some years there that I did not go out because I was at home with the children. Now, I don't consider that a deprivation at all. I was quite comfortable. I had my home, my books, my sewing machine, my children. It didn't lend itself to me, but on vacation, when he went, Brian was not yet walking, so Brian was about maybe 8 months old. He went to Kaglu in Asmara to bring some buses. He and Frank Kupchak went to get some buses that were Army surplus that we wanted for the school to transport for students. And with the child, I flew. He flew up with me. We just happened to arrive when there was a big strike going on. And we got off the plane at the airport, and lo and behold, wasn't a thing moving. They finally got a vehicle. They took us to the consulate, and someone had just machine gunned in the streets, and the bullets had stopped in the file cabinet. The lady was filing, and the bullets stopped in the files. And so they stuck their heads out the bottom of the door and said, go to your hotel and don't go out. Well, here we were with this baby, and we had not brought food because, everything was available in this tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Conrad went out and he found a bar that was open. Now, bars there are not like bars here. And they had their pull-down metal door open about so much, and he went under it, and he found some cookies, and he found some French baby formula that he bought and brought back, and we took care of Brian. Down in the hotel kitchen, I found a few heads of garlic and some dried bread.
Mm.
There just wasn't anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next few days we went out to Cagnew and enjoyed all the amenities that Brian sat on the table with a milkshake glass between his legs, and here is this 8-month-old that was slurping up milkshake, drank almost all of it. And they gave him his shots, and the young U.S. military was well trained in respect for women, and there weren't that many of us, and
Yes.
I was young at that time, and not
You
76
gave
years old.
You gave him something to look at.
And they were very nice, very polite.
Yes.
Brian got his series of infant shots while we were there, and when Conrad drove back, I flew back. The only interesting thing was the day before we were to leave, I had taken Brian for a walk in the baby stroller, and we had been to the airline's office and confirmed that we were going to fly out the next day. And I had come back to the hotel. We were in the room, and I heard the feet pounding up the stairs, and the door flew open. Thank God you're alive. Someone had bombed the airline office, and it blew out the wall between the airline office and the shop next door, and a couple of people were killed.
Mm.
And we had just been there.
When was this?
This was Brian was born in 57. He was 8 months old. It was May. He was born in May. It had to be in January.
58.
February.
Of 58.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. What about within the region? Did you travel outside Ethiopia? You said about Kilimanjaro. Did you travel?
That was that particular trip, that was our last trip home. So that had to be in '68. And the Douglases were there, and their son David was like 19 or 20 years old. And he came back because we were going to go with us. We were going to go through the game parks. And he met his parents then in Israel. He flew with us so he could go through the game parks. And that was really neat. We saw Ngorongoro Crater, we saw the Silly. We rented a Land Rover and drove. And when we got to Israel, we rented a vehicle again, and we drove out to Jericho. Now, that was a year after the 7 Days War, and there were still tanks and things parked by the side of the road. And while we bought some melons and some grapes and things in the market, we were the only foreigners there. And I attributed it to the fact that it was after lunch and people were home taking a nap. But 2 weeks after we got back, and by that time we were in Stillwater. An American school teacher on a tour bus was blown to Kingdom Come when she got off the bus and stepped on a landmine there by the side of the road. While we were parked there having our grapes and melon, here came the vehicles back, loaded with military. And we were out with our little kids.
Mm.
And people were so nice to us. I mean, we, generally speaking, we never, ever had problems. For one thing, here we were traveling just like everybody else. We had our kids, and we had been doing this all the children's lives. So they were well behaved. They knew what they were doing. And we knew what we were doing. And we just wanted to be normal.
Yes.
No, we were not fancy tourists. We were just seeing things. And it was wonderful.
And so you had to return to the States every 2 years, or at least leave Ethiopia?
Yeah, now the last tour,
Okay.
we extended and went 3 years, and then we came back for 1 year. And so we came home, when we should have come home in 66, we came home in 67. And then the program was terminated in 68. So we did do a bit of a juggle there.
How much time would you spend in the States when you were
We
on
had
leave?
to be out of the country, I'll say 3 months.
Mhm.
There's a specific number of days, and I don't remember exactly, but we'll say 3 months.
Mhm.
Every 2 years. So
And what would you do that time? You would come back to Oklahoma, but would you
we
Would-
play.
would you also vacation within the States? Take your kids to see stuff within the States that
Just family.
just family?
The longest we ever traveled at one stretch was 21 days. 21 days of travel with 6 people.
Mm.
You're tired.
Yeah.
Now, there was one time that we flew direct and flew into Tulsa. And Conrad's sister lived there, and we visited with her family, and we did all our shopping. Craig wore corrective shoes, so we tried. You tried to make purchases ahead to fit sizes, and it was it was neat to get to shop and see the real stuff
Yes.
rather than search for that catalog, J.C. Penney, which we probably should have had shares in Sears. They should have just given them to us because we did a lot of business with them. But anyway, that was hard too. Flying all that one.
Yeah.
We were really tired when we got here, and then we tried to jump right in and do everything,
Mhm.
and that was not good for a person. That was not good planning.
Was there anything that you missed? Like the first thing you got off the plane, what was like the first thing that you did? Was there anything like, oh, I have to go get barbecue, or I have to go get an ice cream cone? Was there anything that you had
Yeah.
to do that you
Yeah.
missed?
Things I missed, because you mentioned that first.
Mhm.
The first year at Christmas time, the weather was wrong, and I missed the seasonal weather more than anything else. By the second Christmas, we had a child,
Mhm.
and we had our family Christmas, and we had made some adjustment. So I missed the season. because for years, I had worked as a special gift wrapper or doing store clerical work at Christmas, and there was all the Christmas music, and the weather was just not right. And I missed Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing that I really looked forward to in the way of food was like a Brahms burger. At that time, I don't know that it was a Brahms, but the Boston in Enid had the Boston Fountain, which was in the very downtown heart of Enid, but they also had a burger place. And that was, boy, did I miss hamburgers, because we baked our own bread. And a home-baked hamburger bun is not correct. And we had to make our own hamburger, and that meant you had to take the meat and take all the stiffening and all that stuff out, and then you had to grind it. And it wasn't, boy, I missed a hamburger. Really did miss a hamburger. And it was really interesting about the children, because they didn't like the milk when we got here, because they'd been raised on powdered milk, and milk in the carton didn't taste right.
I see.
Bologna. We're still missing bologna.
All right, and you returned in '68. What was the like major readjustments that you and your family had to partake in?
Well, first of all, the excitement of doing something different sort of does away with, and there is a matter of attitude too. It just, you can talk to yourself and make yourself miserable, or you can talk to yourself and make yourself pretty happy. Now, I had never really kept house, my own house, for the 6 of us. And not only did I do that, I taught a couple of hours a day, and then I took some classes, and I was keeping house for the 6 of us. And yeah, and Conrad was going to school. He was on full sabbatical for 6 months we were away. There was going to school, setting up our lifestyle, finding a job, because he was going to have to support us all. And we wanted to buy a house, find a house. There was a bunch, but it was exciting. It wasn't, you don't think of it as hardships. And a whole lot of things depends on how you think.
Yes. What was it hard for the children to adjust?
Yeah.
What do you think was the most difficult for them?
Schooling was different. And my children had never experienced going to school. They had never experienced the money system, the purchasing of things. I don't think they really realized. And I did give them money and encourage them to buy themselves a piece of bread. Brian thought it was so nice that all these merchants gave us all these things. And you see, all the packages came from Sears, wrapped up like presents. And it was a lot different. And they were no longer, all of us were no longer the elite people.
what did you do? You said you went back to school then?
I took some courses.
Took some courses? And you
Uh,
taught some
you-
art?
I taught. I was
Sorry.
an overflow teacher at C.E. Donor High School. That's the high school here.
Okay.
And I taught 2 art classes a day. I think that's all. I think there were just 2. The first year I taught half-time at the middle school the next year, and I taught 8th grade biology and 7th grade art. And I taught 2 classes of biology and 1 of art. And I also was a homebound teacher. And teachers have to renew their teaching credentials.
Yeah,
You
they're
have to
licensed.
take so many hours,
Mm-hmm.
keep yourself certified.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, first of all, I was going to get a master's in educational psychology, and decided that I would get my confidence that I would get too involved in things, that it would be too hard on me emotionally to do that kind of work. He probably was right. Anyway, I wound up getting a master's in industrial arts education because we hit the doldrums, the financial doldrums. Education goes through that in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think it's going through it right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's hard on people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they did not get their advanced degree program in art they were expecting. And I had taken something like 19 hours already
Mm-hmm.
that was going to be involved in that degree. And it didn't materialize. So John Tate had taken a couple of us. I was the second. Isolette de Almeida was the first. And if we would take certain courses, we could complete a degree in industrial arts education. Now, I could never teach industrial arts, but that would let me fulfill the requirements of a higher degree.
Yep.
And after all, I'd taken all these hours.
You gotta use them for something.
And it wasn't my fault that
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't their fault either. It was just the way things worked out because of the economy that program didn't materialize.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to be able to get more than a bachelor's degree salary. So he was very understanding, very cooperative.
Mm-hmm. And so
And there's a couch in there that was my major project.
So you taught until you retired?
No, they hit the financial doldrums again, and reduction in force. That's when they first instigated reduction in force in the public schools, and they cut programs.
Mm.
And I had taught at Morrison for 7 years.
Oh, Morrison? Okay.
And they cut their art program.
Mm.
They were going to cut their band program. They just spent $50,000 on brand new band uniforms. So they decided, well, maybe we can have a band teacher. And they cut out their home economics program. And they cut one elementary coaching position, but rehired that person before the school year was over. Athletics is very important. Stand up.
So what'd you do after you got?
You do what you can do. I worked at the university. Back when we first came back from Ethiopia, I was Dr. Kepi's secretary in the biochemistry department for something like 3 years. I worked a year in the registrar's office. Let's see, how did that go? In 1990, I worked a year in the registrar's office, I think. And then someplace in there I worked for Architectural Engineering Services for several years. And then I went back to them, and I was the records person. I put all their, and I was contact person when they bid a project on the new buildings. I was the contact person between the contractors that wanted to bid on a project, see to it that all the blueprints and all the change order plans went out, and I also put all their stuff into a program in the computer, and it got a file system set up so that people could refer to them and find the plans
Yeah.
that related to different parts of the building. Don Allen was my supervisor. Al Tyson was head of the department at that time, and then he retired, and Jeff Stewart, who's now, I believe, he's head of physical plant now.
All right. You're the one who facilitates the reunions for those who went over to Ethiopia. How did you come into that role? How did the reunions develop?
Okay. A few times when we were on home leave, the international programs, which was then under Bill Abbott, would have a big
Ethiopia Day.
Ethiopia Day. It ended in a big dinner, and sometimes someplace I think it's in a tub in the garage. They finally decided to recognize women one year, and so we were given certificates like a diploma for having the years that each of us, it was different for each one, the years that we were in Ethiopia and worked for the program. They had recognized the men in the previous year. And then after the program closed out, those of us who were in Ethiopia wanted to stay in contact. And so there were several people, the ones still living, that worked on setting that up were Clark Kendall, that you visited with yesterday, and Conrad. Bob Hill has passed away. Frank Kubczyk passed away. Tom Sigenthaler passed away. There were other people, but they're gone. Those are the two still living. And then they decided to become a 501c3 organization, and that developed into Oklahoma-Ethiopia Society. And Ulila Kubczyk was the secretary back then. And we used to meet together every once in a while, and when they decided to become the 501c3 thing and writing it all up, since now OSU was the then parent of this program as Oklahoma A&M, there were certain conditions and rules and regs that they drew up. And one of them was it was going to happen here in Stillwater. Well, one time we did, the Sigenthalers very kindly took over and set it up in Oklahoma City. And that's the only every 2-year meeting that we've had outside of Stillwater. And when Ulila decided that she had served as the secretary for enough years that she wanted someone else to do it. It fell my lot, and I don't remember exactly how that came about, but it did. And the fact that we live here makes it easy
Yes.
From time to time, different people have been president, but it's like the Queen of England. We have titular positions. John Warren has been our president for a number of years. Tom Siegenthaler was our vice president and was until he died, and then we installed Grace, his wife, to take over as vice president. And Bob Hill was the newsletter person. Bob did a really good job. Unfortunately, he was killed. His wife took over as long as her health would allow. And then I took over as the newsletter person. And then at some point in time, I decided we were going to have some younger people in there. Those people are still working. They've got families. They've got jobs. And we asked Tara Hobbs Lisco if she would be the newspaper editor. So for 10 years, we've been going to close this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years ago, we voted to close it. And I said, look, I'm going to die. Somebody's got to take this over. And Tara didn't want to, but we said, I will support you. Anything you do is wonderful.
Yeah.
We'll support you all the way. And so she agreed. And she loves to work on the computer, and she finds all kinds of interesting things. And she has sent stuff out. Well, as people were leaving the room, having voted to close it out, they said, when's our next meeting? So, after a while, Darrell Watts.
So what year was the society founded? Oh, I'm testing you now.
I don't know. Conrad does.
All right.
If he stops and thinks about it, he can figure it out.
Okay.
Anyway,
now do you guys have a archive for that? Of all the newsletters and whatnot? And are you the archive?
I have stuff in the computer. And I have boxes of stuff. When Jeff Mosley was the secretary, he did a really good job, and there's stuff out in the barn in boxes that needs to go somewhere. And Conrad worked with the OSU library, and it's been going to happen, and it just never has.
Okay, I will.
So there's stuff under the bed, there's stuff in the barn, there's stuff in the computer.
I'm gonna kick that marble and try to get it going again. How's that? How's that for you?
Well, I can print off everything that's in the computer, and you can have all that. And a lot of stuff I've made copies for. Anytime somebody up at School of International Studies wants something, they'll ask, and I'll print it out, or dig it out, or find it, or something. Anyway, and for a number of years, we found that people really enjoyed, and it happened that back then, Best Western was being managed by the parent of some of my school kids, and they were real helpful and cooperative. Everything was under one roof, and people didn't have to drive at night. And it was really handy, and we thought we might be able to get that set up for this year, and we were underway. And when I got ready to sign a contract, lo and behold, they'd changed personnel. It just, I happen to know the manager of the, not, I met the manager, his name is Lamb, but the sales manager in training, Dorinda Gow, happens to have worked at our church on Wednesday night fellowship meals.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been very helpful. And that's where we're gonna wind up being this year.
Okay. Let's just wrap it up here. Overall, how do you feel about your Ethiopian experience?
It's a really wonderful thing to have a job where you feel like you're doing something for someone and it's being appreciated. And you can see that good is coming from the efforts, and so many of our former students are now in positions of leadership, either in their country or around the world, or like the friends with 3 children and 2 that are medical doctors, and one that's in New York City in computer communications. It was an Ethiopian who developed the satellite interchange. Not necessarily a former student of ours, I don't think he was, but it was a wrong concept, Darkest Africa. It may have just have been not known.
Mm-hmm.
All peoples have potential. And the immigrant population that has come to this country, and I'm a product of it, and Conrad's a product of it, and I don't know your genealogy, but I'm sure you are too. Mm-hmm. We all are. Mm-hmm. And the American Indians came from someplace else. We are made from the experiences of others that have come together. And it was an experience that changed our lives. And it was a very, very good experience. Now that doesn't mean that every day was sunshine and sweet music. Everything has its problems from time to time. And sometimes problems can be severe, but everything has its problems.
Yes.
But it was a wonderful experience.
Well, again, I'm going to thank you for your time and allowing me to visit with you today. And I wish you the best of luck. And
thank you.
I hope this reunion is coming up here in October is a well-received one. And hopefully I can stumble by it.
I just can't think of it not being, because we've got so many marvelous people.